All right, back just in time for the ads to be done. And we can, oh, I forgot to put the timestamp on here. Oh well. What was this? This is 3. I have no idea if these timestamps are even helpful to me whatsoever. Okay, next up, Docker for web, connecting to a running Docker container, which we'll be able to do with that running Postgres container, if I remember correctly. Ah, nice. Okay, connecting to a running Docker container. In the previous, objectives first. Interactively connect. Interactively connect to a running Docker container. In the previous lesson, we created a container that is running in the background. We can see that it's running with a docker ps command, but beyond that, there isn't much that we can do with the container. It is possible to connect to a container in interactive mode using the docker exec command, even if it's running in daemon mode. The only restriction is that the container must be running. This won't work on a stopped container. So then we see that, then we exec into it with bin bash, and then we go back in. We did a few things here. First, we listed out the running containers, so we can find the name of the container we wanted to connect to. Then we ran the exec command with the -it options. This allowed us to interactively attach our terminal to the container. The command in question was the bin bash shell. When we run the shell directly, it creates a new shell. Since we're in interactive mode, we are connected to that shell and can now run our commands or do whatever we want inside the container. When we are finished running commands, we exited out of the container. Since the container was started with the -d option for daemon mode, it continued to stay up even after exiting. Other commands. We can run, okay, so this is more that. We can run more than just the shell in a running container. Any command that can be run inside the container can be run as part of the docker exec command. For example, we could just run the ls command to list files and directories. Since this command exits immediately after running, there isn't a reason to use the -it options. So docker exec some postgres ls, look at that. In this case, we just ran the command in the container and the output was printed for us. Excellent. So that's pretty simple. So interactively connects to a running Docker container and then run a one-off command. So run a command in a running Docker container. I did colon as if I was going to do colon W. Nice presentation. Do you also create written documents using Canva Docs? No. I use a different document editor. What makes you stick with your current document editor? All of my other documents are there. Also, I didn't know that Canva had a document editor. That also, you know, is why. Okay, so we're going to connect into the Postgres one. Perfect. All right, connecting to a running Docker container and then also just run a one-off command. So here we go. We've created a Docker container in daemon mode and it just is running. Let's go ahead and take a look at that with the docker ps command. Okay, so we can see this here, but what if we want to connect into it? What if this was our code and we needed to see something inside of it or run a one-off command inside of it? How do we do that without like just restarting from scratch with that it command and have it take over the shell? Well, we can use the exec command to execute a command inside of the container. The caveat to this is that it must be a running container. We can't do this to a stopped container because a stopped container is the equivalent of, well, if we put our computer to sleep, you can't really connect into it at that point in time. You have to return it back on before you can do anything there. Same thing with containers. So we have this Postgres container and it's still up and running. What if we want to just interactively connect to it so we can just do whatever we want with it? Well, we can do that with docker exec. Now we do have to do that it command option again. So -it. And then we have to give it the name of this. So it's going to be some Postgres. And then we have to have the command that we want. Now, in this case, I want to get a shell inside of the container so I can just move around. And I happen to know that bash is available inside of this container. So we can just go into bin bash. And bam, we are now inside the container and we can now run ls. We can do whatever we want. And this is the running container. I can now debug it or whatever I need to do. And when I'm done, we'll just type exit. And just to show, when I exit out of this container, because it was running in daemon mode already, the exit didn't cause the container to exit out. It didn't stop it. It's still up and running. Now, what if I didn't want to get an interactive shell into it? What if I already knew the command that I wanted? It was just this one-off command. Do I have to get a shell inside, go in there, run the command, then exit out again? No, I don't need to do that. We just run the command directly. And then in that case, we don't need the -it anymore because we don't need to interactively connect our terminal anymore. Let's say we want to run this ls command and just list the files and the directories in the container where, wherever our directory is. So we're going to do docker exec some Postgres, and then whatever the command is. So ls. And there we go. We now have listed out from inside the container all of the files and directories. And if you could imagine if we had a shell script, if we had anything else that we wanted to do, we could now run that command in there and it would just do stuff for us and then automatically exit out. And again, our container is still running in the background. We didn't cause it to stop. It would only stop if it crashed and then stopped on its own. But none of the things that we did caused that. And that's it. That's how we can run our own commands inside of the Docker container. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Let's see. Runda Richai, hello. How are you doing today? What is Docker needed in general? Let's see. So GS Vault makes it easy to not run servers on your system. Think like Postgres for dev projects. It is really useful. Yes. It's also really useful for ensuring the correct versions of things. So let's imagine that you have a project you want to run, and to me, it's like even more important if this is on a team environment. So let's say you have a team of like 5 devs, and some of the devs have Windows systems, some of them have Linux, some of them have Macs. And you want to have a consistent environment that matches whatever you have in production. So let's imagine that in production, you're running on Postgres 14. Let's say you're using Node.js on the back end, and you have like Node.js, I don't know, like 18 or so, which is, I think that's that's no longer LTS anymore. That's an older version. But if you don't do anything, some of your developers might have like 22, like Node.js 22 and Postgres 16. Some of them might have Node.js 10 for some reason. Some of them might have like Postgres, like, 12 or whatever. Like all the versions are going to be different, and when they develop, there's different features that are available for them, or maybe it just doesn't work for them if they have like the Node.js 10. So in Docker, you can say, okay, here's like, you have to have Docker Postgres version 16. Like, and you can script this. Like, this is where you can say, okay, you run this script and it sets up everything for you. And the other thing is, you can have multiple versions. What if you have 2 projects, one that requires Postgres version 16 and one that requires Postgres version 14? You can have both of them up and running at the exact same time, and it won't cause issues. It won't cause conflicts. I really like Docker for that specific use case. So to me, Docker for development is way more impressive, attractive, than any other use case of Docker. Does that answer your question? All right. Stop a running Docker container. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to stop a running Docker container. Content. We've been playing around with the Postgres container for a couple of lessons now, but we're finished with it. That being said, a running container is taking up memory, RAM, and CPU resources on the system. If we have a very powerful computer, this probably wouldn't affect us until we have a lot of containers all running at the same time. However, it can be a good idea to clean up after ourselves and free up these resources for other services. We'll use the docker stop command to stop the container without deleting it. Okay, so we do that. If we were to list all containers with the docker ps-a command, we would see the stopped container. While stopped containers aren't using memory or CPU, they are still taking up disk space. If you want to clean up disk space, be sure to also delete the container, which we did in a previous lesson. So we don't have to do that ourselves. All right, here we go. Stopping a running Docker container. In the last lesson, we created the daemon mode of the Docker container, connected into it, and have been playing around with it. But we're done with it now. We don't need it actively running. And any actively running Docker container is going to take up system resources. So in this case, CPU and memory definitely are being taken up. Now, if we have a huge amount of memory and a lot of CPU cores, then this probably won't really affect us. You could just run many Docker containers at the same time before you start running into problems. But if you have a older system, if you have like maybe a notebook that doesn't have that many resources, you're going to start feeling that pretty quickly. And so we want to now stop that. And if it's running in daemon mode, it just is sitting there behind the scenes. We might forget about it and not realize that we're running something that's taking up resources. One way to solve this, we can stop the container. So let's run our Docker PS. Here's our Postgres container that we created previously. Now, if I want to stop this, we're going to run the Docker stop command. Let's run that right now. So Docker stop, and then we give it the name or the ID. So in this case, some Postgres. In this case, it just stopped immediately. Sometimes if there's like a lot of stuff that it's doing, it will take a little bit longer. Now, bear in mind that this doesn't delete the container. It's still going to take up disk drive space, but it's now freed up the CPU and memory for other services on our computer. And we can verify that the container is still there with the docker ps-a command. And there it is. We can see that it is exited as of 27 seconds ago. As of this point, if we wanted to free up the disk space that this container was taking, we could delete it, which would then free up the disk space as well. But we already did that in a previous lesson, so I don't need to show you that here. And that's it. That's all I wanted to show you is just how to stop a running container, especially one in daemon mode. So hopefully this is helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. All right. I've gotten tired enough that I'm noticing the desire to keep on talking and just start like repeating myself in the lesson. I have to like spend energy to like not do that and like be more succinct. So it's something that I remember learning when I was doing teaching. My boss took me aside one time. He's like, okay, you've done all these good things. Now you need to learn how to stop talking. Because he's like, okay, like there's this point when you're giving a lesson or you're giving a speech or something else, when you're like, okay, you get everybody, they're going up, they're following, everything's good. And then there's a point where you're at the cap. You're at the top of the mountain of like, you've done everything awesome. Anything more you say just is now down and you're losing them. And I guess my natural instinct is just to talk too much. So I do try to like remind myself to be more succinct, which the more tired I get, the more hard it is to remind myself of that. Okay, start a stopped Docker container. All right, start a stop Docker container. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to start a stop Docker container. Content. Previously, we stopped our Postgres database container. What if we wanted to restart it again without having to create a new container? We can do this with the docker start command. This command requires that a container be created but not running. So we show that's not running, docker start some Postgres, and now it's running again. Since this container was started in daemon mode, restarting it will put it right back into daemon mode again. Might want to emphasize that it starts the entry point again. Does it start the entry point again, or does it just resume exactly where it left off? It's actually good. I don't know. This is really helpful. This tells me nothing about what is actually happening behind the scenes. Okay, maybe manual will help. This is in reference still. Okay, how about stop? Maybe stop will have something? Well, I am not going to reference. I'm not going to talk about it. I think we can get away with just saying it restarts a container exactly where it was previously, because as far as we are concerned, that's exactly what happens. Because if we somehow manage to stop the Postgres from running, it crashes it. So yeah, here, let me find out. Because now I'm interested. What did I do wrong? Docker IT. Oh, exec IT, not IT. Okay. What is it? Is it PS? That was PS. PS is not PS is not found. What's the thing? for what services are running. I thought it was PS, but maybe not. There is top. Oh, apparently there's no top in here either. Okay, cool. Oh, that's what it is. There's just they Postgres default contain image just doesn't have any of those things. I'm getting distracted by a little dark spot on the rug down here, and I keep on thinking like maybe it's a spider or something just like staring at me. I'm gonna investigate to assuage my mind. It was a bunch of Zilby hair that had that was somehow just sitting right there, like in a condensed little ball. So that's gone now, and now more hair that he won't just eat on his own. Okay, so now if I can I kill all Postgres? There's no kill all. How do I find the process ID? Is kill? Yeah, okay, so there is a kill. Okay, so is there PG? Can I like turn it off or kill it somehow? Right, but here's the problem. PS itself is gone. There's no, I can't do ps-ef because this container doesn't have it, which is hilarious. So I would need to install PS to then run PS to find the process ID. Postgres did a pretty good job at stripping away everything that I guess like what they, I wonder if they're based on Alpine. Is apt here? Oh, they're Debian based. Okay, so it is apt. It's not whatever the other one is. Okay, so Postgres help. Can I like tell the daemon to stop? Not that I know of here. You know what I could do? This is gonna be some like the first thing that I usually come up with is gonna be like the old sysadmin way of doing stuff, which is not always a correct way of doing it, but is sometimes a really fun way of doing things. Okay, so it stores its data in varlib PostgreSQL data. So, for example, if I cd into varlib PostgreSQL data, here's all of this stuff. Now, let's say I this might not be a good. This would, if I were to mess with this, it would crash. It would crash out, but that's not really helpful. That's not necessarily what I want to do. It's like what I really want to do is like stop the server, like temporarily. and there's no like PG. Is there, I don't see like a Postgres database. Is there, can I just do like stop? The server must be started under an unprivileged user ID to prevent, oh, interesting. Okay. Cat. So, okay, so they have a Postgres user ID. So I can do switch user to Postgres. Now can I do Postgres stop? Okay. User lib PostgreSQL 16 bin Postgres. Okay. Oh, check my path environment. Yeah, so I have this. So user lib PostgreSQL 16 bin. Wait. I thought I could stop with that. So Docker stop sends a sig term to the main process in the container, which means if you want to start again, it has to start the main process, which would be the entry point. Okay, so that, I guess that does make sense. I was seeing if maybe I can like manually send a PS. Okay, so let's exit out of here. I have user local bin, user sbin, user bin. Is it an Etsy? Etsy bin? Is there an Etsy bin? No, that's just the things. I don't know where PS normally would be on a system. How would I send a sig term? Oh, you think, oh, it's slash bin, right. Bin, oh, PG. Oh, but there's no PG. There's a bunch of other PGs here, though. And there is no, yep, there is no PS. Sig term can be sent with kill. Okay, perfect. Now, if I could figure out what it was running, but maybe also we could do PG. No, I don't see anything for like a Postgres to like stop. Yeah, okay. Don't think any of these things will help me out here. And kill is great if I knew what I was trying to... Okay, so what if I try to do this? Kill... We could install that. I could just do apt. We could here, let's do this. apt, we have to apt update first. Kill default to sigterm, but you do need the process, right, which is why we need to install proc ps. Okay, so we'll do an apt, is it info or is it search? I can't remember anymore. Search proc ps. Proc file system. Okay, so we want to install you. Go ahead. Okay, so you're good to go now. Oh, okay. So ps ef. Okay, so here's Postgres. PID 1. That's impressive. Okay, so if I do kill Postgres, sorry, kill 1, that crashed and took me out of the container. That crashed the container. Interesting. Okay. Right, because it was running up and running from that only. Yes. Okay, so we're done there. Now if I do a docker ps, we're gonna restart this. So docker start some Postgres. The only reason it can remain up. Oh, run Docker top as well? Yeah, I don't think I've actually done it before. That's pretty cool. I did not put this into the course. Docker cause some Postgres. We could have just done that. Oh, interesting. Look at that. So its PID went from 1 to 3808. So it did relaunch it. Yeah, Docker top would have been a lot better for us to use. It didn't have top inside of it, but it knows how to run it because it's running from outside top into top. It's, you know, it's an entire thing. Okay. So this is good. The answer is yes. Whenever we run docker start, it reruns the exec to restart the container, which feels like it's exactly where it left off, but it's actually relaunching whatever the container was. So it's not a true sleep. That's like a little lie. Okay, so we haven't done the video yet. So when I start, I'll be able to say like, okay, what this really is doing is it's rerunning the command that the Docker container was set up with. Same file system, but new processes. Yes, exactly. Now I should be able to just Docker stop this again. And we're back to this. Start to stop Docker container. Okay, we're ready to go. Here we go. In the previous lesson, we stopped a Docker container that we had up and running to save some system resources. But let's say it's the next day, we want to get back to work and we don't have our Postgres container running. We can see that it still exists with the docker ps-a command, and it was exited. Well, we want to restart it. So, well, we can do that with the docker start command. To run it, we're just going to do docker start and then either the container ID or the name of the container. So in this case, some Postgres. Now, if we run our docker ps command again, there it is. That's our Postgres container is back up and running again, ready for us to use. Now, behind the scenes, what's happening is Docker is rerunning the command that the container was, well, that the image is set up with. So the image, whenever we create a container, says, okay, run the, the Docker daemon command, which starts the Postgres process, and it goes up. So my my metaphor of using, or simile of using a sleeping computer is like only kind of correct. And here's where we have to sort of like move a little bit beyond that, because when we stopped the container, it actually halted the process. It turned off the database. It didn't just sort of halt it in time, it actually shut it down. It's more equivalent to a shutdown of a computer as opposed to a sleep of a computer. And then the start is like restarting it back up again, where it relaunches it, it gets a new process ID inside and everything. But beyond that, it's sort of exactly what you expect it to. We can turn on a container back again, and it's pretty much exactly how we left it off previously. Postgres in this case is back ready for us to use again. And that's it. We're ready to go. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye. All right. Easy enough. Last one of this section. Set up VS Code to work with Docker. Oh, and this one is super, super simple. Okay. And then we have our content. So yeah, nothing really special there. I didn't have enough to even make a spelling mistake. Okay, set up VS Code to work with Docker. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to set up VS Code to work with Docker. Content. VS Code is a really nice extension that allows devs to work with Docker seamlessly. The extension is simply called Docker. Note that if you don't use VS Code, you aren't missing anything. This extension allows devs to graphically manage Docker. If you use VS Code and you want to use VS Code to work with Docker, install the extension and also watch this tutorial video to learn how to use it. So pretty much I just punt and say, go there. They did a much better job. This tutorial video is actually on the official Docker. I think it's the official VS Code channel for YouTube. I don't remember anymore, but it's some official looking thing, and it should be fine. But we can still do our own lesson for this. So, and then from now on, I think all of our lessons are going to be within the context of VS Code after this. The profile that I'm using, Docker for web development. Can I clear a profile? I don't think I can, right? I kind of want to delete it. And we're going to create a new profile again. So I'll call this introduction to Docker. Each time I did that, the font got smaller, that's fun. Okay, so here we are in Docker. I guess this opened up this specific, can I have you not? Sure, go ahead and install an update. There we go. Okay, so we don't have any folders yet. We have a brand new VS Code. We're connected to the introduction to Docker profile we just created. So there's no extensions or anything else set up for this. So we are going to install the Docker container, and that will allow us to sort of do things with it. So, and then I think I'll just sort of go do a quick walkthrough of it. So that'll be fine. And then you're here right there. Okay, we're good. We're good to go. 12 minutes until the next ad break or so. No, ad break starts in 7 minutes. I feel like the pre-roll off and the ads are not always, like, they're often like they start together and they sort of get off sync. But as long as there's no pre-roll ads, I'm happy with that. But okay, let's do this. Set up VS Code to work with Docker. If you use Visual Studio Code, the editor by Microsoft, then there's an extension that will make working with Docker really easy. Let's go ahead and set up VS Code to work with the Docker and connect to the image and container that we already have up and running. Now, this is a brand new profile that I've set up, so there's absolutely no extensions or anything else installed right now. We're starting fresh. So we're going to come over here to extensions. It's already in the recommended for us, which is this Docker here. And this was the one by Microsoft. So I'm going to go ahead and install this. And this adds in a Docker section to VS Code. So we're going to click into here. And this allows us to see what containers that we have and what containers they have running. So this is the equivalent of the Docker PS command running basically just all the time for us. And if we don't see our container, we can just run a refresh here. We also can see the images that we have set up here. We can connect to like custom registries. I think by default it connects to Docker Hub. I don't actually really care about the registries for this, so I'm going to close that down. And we haven't covered networks or volumes yet in the course. That'll come in the future, but this this extension does allow us to investigate and deal with those and manage those. Okay, so previously we've basically done CRUD operations on Docker images and containers, and so you basically create, read, update, delete on them, and we can do the exact same thing here. I can stop this container, so we can right click this. I can't make the interactive little menu bigger, but it basically allows me to view logs, attach a shell to it, inspect it, to stop it, to restart it. So I can, like, for example, stop the Postgres container, which then stops, and then I can restart it again. For images, I can right click and remove the image too. I can also attach a shell. So this is the equivalent of that exec command with the bin bash. So if I do attach shell, it opens up a terminal for me and then attaches directly into the container. And now I'm just in here. And if I wanted to do that again, I can just attach another shell, and I have 2 shells in here now. So if you don't have VS Code, it's perfectly fine. You're not really going to miss anything from this because the extension is really just doing anything that we can do from the command line. It's sort of like installing a graphical editor for GitHub or Git. It allows you to do the exact same things you can do with the command line. It's just more of a visual way. So if you already use VS Code and you want a more visual way to sort of see and interact with your Docker images and containers, then this is an excellent way to do that. Otherwise, don't worry about that. It's not necessary to install VS Code just for this. And that's it. I just wanted to show off like what this was and how you can use this extension to manipulate, see, and investigate your own Docker containers and images. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. All right. Yeah, we did that in like less than 10 minutes. That's good. And that is all of the videos for first steps. Next up, deving with Docker. We have a break coming up in a few minutes, and I think I'll probably take that break too because I need to re-up my my drink, and I've been talking a lot, so my voice is starting to get tired already. But let's see. What have we got coming up? We have example Express CRUD project. We can go ahead and set up the objectives part of this. So this one doesn't really have any objectives, does it? I'm going to ignore that to sort of show that this is more of a prep thing for everything else. Because we're not going to do anything with this. I just want you to clone this down. Okay, perfect. I guess we could spell check it. This is what? Express CRUD project. Ooh, is it GitHub with a capital H or not? This spell check seems to think that it's lowercase h. It literally does not say GitHub anywhere here at all. Oh, here it is. Okay, GitHub capital H. Okay, so I want to... I it. Okay. What was that? There's no saving that's happening there. Okay. We want to reload you. Should change you. Okay. We're good to go. All right. Ad break is starting right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take my break alongside that. And I will be back in a few minutes and we'll read through this and then do the video on it. So I will see you in a few minutes. The urge to hit escape WQ gets stronger over time. It does. Absolutely does, especially the more tired I get.